Hi, it's Carol here from the Big Girls on the Move campaign.
Hi, I'm Wendy Radbone. I'm the Service Manager for Inner Southern Homelessness Service, an outreach program for UnitingCare Wesley Bowden.
And we're here for the handover of the Big Girls Little Colouring books, 36 books in the box for the part of the Big Girls on the Move campaign. So, Wendy, what does your service do?
Our service assists people who are homeless, at risk of homelessness, people who are in crisis situation. We deal with families, people who can self-refer to this organisation. So we have a lot of women who are requiring support from perhaps being in domestic violence situations, finding themselves without any family support.
Before we continue, I'd like to acknowledge that we're here on Kaurna country, and for a number of years I sat on the board of Nungamimini's, or Nungamimina it is now, Aboriginal Women's Domestic Violence Service, and I also worked in a number of domestic violence shelters. So my acknowledgement that we're here on Kaurna country is also an acknowledgement that Aboriginal culture is very much about creativity, community. It's about song and dance and telling stories through art and through symbols. So that's really been a big inspiration for me in the creating of the Big Girls Little Colouring book. And I have a tribute that I'd like to read. In 2001 I lost a friend to domestic violence. Her name was Janet, and I was also working in a domestic violence shelter at the time. Today a woman somewhere woke up and said, "I can't do this anymore." She's been living in domestic violence with a controlling partner for too long, and today something was different. She couldn't put a name to it, but she saw him through different eyes. She began to think new thoughts, or listened to some that had been trying to break through her denial and her hope that he will change. Today she began the first step in leaving. She won't leave immediately, and she has a very long road ahead of her. She will be both inspired and terrified and doubtful. In a few weeks or months' time, we will meet her and her children in a domestic violence shelter. That place of refuge and support won't be the end of her journey of leaving. It will continue to be a long and complicated road for quite some time. There will be housing issues, court cases, perhaps hospital appointments and school meetings. She will have to tell her story to strangers who are counsellors, strangers who work in government departments, and strangers who work at the shelter. She will be raw and vulnerable and feeling powerless and uncertain. And she may think of going home, back to him and the life that she wanted to have, but will never be, because the dream that she has will never be compatible with the nightmare that she's been living. Sometimes imagining an ideal, a better future with an unsuitable partner can be easier than dealing with the process of leaving. Or so it seems. It's easy to forget how terrified you were when the unknown future is so terrifying. She will be anxious for her pets that she had to leave behind, and all of her personal things like photos and precious letters that might be destroyed because she left. And we don't know who she is, or perhaps we do. And we don't know when she will leave, or perhaps she did today. But what we can do is offer her our thoughts and our encouragement, our strength, healing and empowerment. And in doing so, we do make a difference by contributing positive energy and support at a time when she feels her world has begun to change like never before. It takes a village. Wendy, could you tell us a little bit more about your service?
I think probably one of the most challenging aspects for the service is that the first port of call for a lot of people is coming through that door, letting our service know they're in crisis, and then having advocacy put forward for that client to go into motel accommodation. Motel accommodation is always really difficult because it's confined, you've got children, you don't have anything that's familiar around you. And one of the major roles of our team here is to support those women. So I'd actually like to ask Louisa if she could just give us a little bit more detail around how we work through that process through the service.
Great, thank you. Hi, Louisa.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you, Wendy. Hi. Yes, so we do have quite a few women and families coming through the service and needing that motel accommodation, because at that time, unfortunately, they are experiencing a crisis of sorts and don't have anywhere to stay. So we do advocate for that to be something that's provided to them. It's a really difficult situation for women and families to be put into, because it's not at all an ideal situation. They're away from their supports and away from services quite often as well. But we support them and hopefully get them to a point where they can access medium or longer term housing.
We look forward to the books going out to the motel services.
Absolutely, that's really good to know.
Yeah, thank you.
I'd like to introduce Michelle. Michelle's our child and family case manager. We're very fortunate in this service to have someone who specialises in working directly with families. Michelle also assists other case managers, so there's a co-case management model. So Michelle will be able to give us some background on the families that she works with. Thanks,
Great.
Michelle.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Michelle. So this role is quite, it changes every day. We don't really know whom I'm going to end up working with, and each family I work with has a unique story. So the way that I would work with them would be based on how it is for them. So listening to them, what they need, listening to the children, what they need, and trying to connect them to the appropriate service. And sometimes it takes a while to do that, to develop the trust. So sometimes it's little by little, and sometimes it's really fast. So it's about working through what it is that family needs and supporting them. And if I say I'm going to do something, I like to follow through. And we have a great team that also work really closely with these families too.
Yeah, thank you.
At Inner Southern Homelessness Service, we're very fortunate to have students on placement. One of the students that we have at the moment is Jodie, and Jodie's from the Disability and Employment faculty at Flinders, so I'd like her to join us in giving some information about working with families.
Hi. So, yes, working with people and families obviously is our core in my course and what we're trying to do. Advocating for people with disability and trying to get people into employment or into some meaningful activities. One thing that I found with my placement here is they're strength-based. So a lot of their assessments is around strengths and recognising those in people. And I think that's very, very important with trying to move forward. Yeah, so we all have strengths and some of those we don't even know. And if we're if we have barriers of like low self-esteem or homelessness or domestic violence, then we lose touch of ourselves and we lose touch of what we are good at. So just bringing those strengths out in people and really sort of showing them what skills that they have, transferable skills that they have that they can put into something else that's more meaningful, whether it's employment or whether it's volunteering or anything.
Jodie, could you share a bit about the role of art and disability and some of your experience in how that has created change for people?
Yeah, sure. So for 12 months I did a practicum with a community re-entry program at Flinders, and there I experienced working with people who, obviously adults with acquired brain injury, and there were ladies in that program who acquired a brain injury from domestic violence, and through the program and learning life skills and developing those skills again, one lady developed her niche for art. So she now sells her art out to different organisations and privately, and I think it has been auctioned. So that's her passion, and it's great to see that that strength has come out in her, whether she had it before or post injury. But it's great to see.
That's fabulous. One of my favourite quotes is Carl Jung. He said, sometimes the hands can solve a mystery that the intellect has struggled with in vain. Or here on Ghana country, the Murras. And I think of that as sometimes just having the opportunity to create with the hands, not necessarily always thinking things through or talking things through, but that the hands can access that other parts of us that we haven't or maybe lost connection with, because we're pretty connected when we were kids, and then I think as time goes on we tend to move away from creativity.
Yeah. Same with children who have disabilities and like language or that are non-verbal, so that comes out in art very much. Their communication comes out in a form of art. So so art and music therapy are something that's evolving in the disability field.
It's fabulous.
It's great.
Thank you so much, Jodie.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce Susan Horsfall, who's the team leader of our program at Inner Southern. Susan's been managing this now for 7 years, and she pulls all the strings to get all of this to work together. So over to you, Susan.
I'd like to thank you, Carol, for bringing the Big Girls colouring books and introducing these books to our service and creating and connecting communities together, because I think that's what it's all about.
Thank you.
Creating a village and trying to connect us, because sometimes we feel like we work in silos. And just by you coming here today and hearing about other services that you're working with, and especially the other YouTube video that you've had, and hearing about their service is really important for us
Thank
to
you.
hear.
That's great feedback. Thank you for that. That was a Central Domestic Violence New Education Unit, the first video, so that will also be on this same channel. So
Yes.
thank you. So this is a really exciting part of the process for us, and before I hand over the box of colouring books, I'd really like to acknowledge the sponsors and our contributors to the campaign. We've been really touched by the generosity of friends and family and strangers who've become friends. So I'd like to officially hand over the box of Big Girls Little Colouring Books to your service. So thank you, Matt. We'll put it on
Thank
the table
you.
because it's quite rude.
Can I just say one more thing,
Sure.
Carol? Again, listening to your poem, you know, I'm emotionally touched, and then by you giving us the colouring books to give to our women, we're very appreciative, and thank you, because this is a gift that will keep on giving. So thank you for being out there in the community.
Thank you, Susan.